Honestly Happy People cast, and today I have Tamara Ebel with me from Clean It Club podcast. How are you, Tamara?
I'm great, Sophia. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for recording with me. And I just wanted to check with you because I know that you went to turn off your vacuum. Is your robotic vacuum named Roby?
Rosie,
Rosie.
like from the Jetsons.
That's so cute. Who picked
I'm
that
old.
name? This is hysterical because I was honestly listening to your podcast this morning on the way into the studio with your niece. And I'm leaving my driveway and I hear you say, I have my niece on the podcast today. I'm like, oh, this is so cute. She's going to have a conversation with her 6-year-old niece.
Yeah, no.
And then you said she's a personal trainer. And I was like, not old enough to have a niece who's a personal trainer. No.
Yeah. Well, my sisters are 10 and 11 years older than me. So they have adult children.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I heard you on Small Towns, Big Dreams podcast. Mm-hmm. You were talking about sort of how you got into your line of work and everything. And I seem to remember you talking about leaving the corporate world and stuff. And you just don't seem like you're old enough to be there. So kudos.
Well, thanks.
Kudos to living the other life. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do and your family and how you came to be where you are? And yeah, take it away.
Okay. So I'm a Wyerton girl, born and raised.
Yes.
I left right after high school because I hated the small town area, needed like big life dreams, right? And then big life got really expensive. So coming back here before things like exploded in the housing market and was able to settle down, I was a hairdresser for 9 years, almost 10 years. Leading up to when COVID hit. And when COVID shut us down, I was 6 months pregnant. And so at that time, I was like, yeah, that. But then I was also like, yes, this is like my escape window, because I knew I wasn't a fit in the business. And I was sort of just like being there because it was safe. Right. Mm-hmm. And so motherhood happened, mm-hmm. COVID happened, and then it was time to like go back to work, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I knew I didn't want to go back to that world. And it was helpful that I didn't have childcare set up, so I couldn't go back to that world. So I had to really lean on my parents at that time to be able to do something. And I thought, okay, I can fit a few cleaning clients into that window of time. So that's what I started doing. And I loved it. Right away, I was like, I felt so helpful. I felt the connection to these other moms that were having me come in and help them. And I think I might be the only person that loves to clean a toilet, but I loved it. It was satisfying. Every day I would come home, I just feel really satisfied and good about what I was doing. And then I decided to go all in when daycare sort of started to happen, and the business exploded, and I'm now booking 1.5 years in advance for services. So that's kind of the story of where I am now.
So if you're listening to this podcast, you're going, Wyerton, yeah, I'm close to Wyerton. Great. Residential cleaner. Yes. Awesome. She has a wait list. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, please though, reach out and I'll put you on the wait list, because, things happen, people cancel, and I can sometimes fit people in last minute. If you're a last minute person, some people are like, no, I need to like prep, which I love. Like, why? It's so funny to me. Like, why are you cleaning your house before you're paying somebody to come and do it for you?
That is a hysterical concept, but that's totally what popped into my head when you said people need to like prepare. I'm like, they're totally cleaning their house before she goes in. Like,
100%. Yeah. And not like cleaning, but like making it cleaner ready, which it's so funny to me.
That's awesome. But the good news is that you do have some other products to help people alleviate the stress of having all of this shit to clean, which is fantastic. But before we get to that stuff, I just want to talk to you about, like, I know I mentioned the corporate world, and I realize as a hairdresser, people don't really think of that as like a corporate job, but you're going
Totally
to work
was.
working for someone else, right? So
Yeah.
it's just a completely different experience going for the same hours, the same place, working for the same people every day. Whereas like you're going into a house on your schedule and working by yourself for the most part, I assume. So what's it like for you working day to day in comparison to what it was like previously?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it is a bit lonely being an entrepreneur, being a solopreneur, really. Um, but in the beginning, I think that's one of the biggest parts that I enjoyed. Hairdressing is a lot of social interaction, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're having to talk to different people all day long, asking them questions and all of that. And then, I did get a break from that because we were shut down for COVID and sort of got away from that world. But then you're home with a kid, and then that's like a whole another level of social interaction. Even though you're not out socializing, you're still like having to manage this person. And so I think when I first started cleaning, being able to like pop in my AirPods and just like do the work and not have to like worry about other people was like freedom for me. Yeah. And so there are times when I was like, oh, I wish that I had somebody, to help me or to talk to or to bounce some ideas off of. But for the most part, I really do enjoy working on my own. Yeah.
Would you call yourself an introvert?
On some levels, I think like, yes, I enjoy being on my own. I need that space a lot of the time. But I was just it's funny. I was listening to a podcast yesterday and I can't remember the name of it now, where somebody was talking about happiness and like fun. And a lot of people, interestingly enough, that identify as introverts, most of their fun moments that they can say like, oh, that was so much fun was with other people. And so that's the same for me. Like I would say, yes, on a lot of the time I am introverted. I like to be on my own with my own thoughts, but the most fun times of my life are with other people, having those connections with other people.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you, where there are times where I seem to be extroverted and people might confuse me for being extroverted, but that I need rest by myself over here.
Yeah.
And I find that working for yourself is really good for that.
Hairdressing
as well.
was like, people were like, oh, you're so bubbly and so like energetic. And then I'd come home and just be like deflated, like just done. So I totally get that.
I bet man, no one wants me to cut their hair, but still, that would be an exhausting job to be talking to people all day. That's like a skill unto itself to small talk with people all day. That's impressive.
It's hard. And I wasn't very good at it, to be honest with you. A lot of the time, like midday, I would just hit a wall and I'm like, I can't talk anymore. And so people would sometimes, I'd be like blow drying their hair and I'm like, I'm sorry if you're falling asleep, but like, I'm just concentrating on what I'm doing. Like, I'm not going to talk anymore. This is the most boring hairdresser appointment you've ever had, but I'm sorry.
The mid-afternoon wall is real. When I used to work in an office, honestly, at like 2:00, I hit the wall and I just sat there for probably a good 2 hours, just like, I don't know.
What do I'm done.
But that does remind me that in your episode with your niece, you did talk about nutrition and stuff. So if you're listening to this and going, yes, the mid-afternoon wall, go listen to that episode.
Yeah. She's a smart young lady. And I'd like to say that I've taken on some of the things that she was telling me about, but no, I just certainly did not eat breakfast this morning. So.
But you have the knowledge, so.
I know I'm supposed to. That's
All right, so because you have this wait list, you were having, trouble fitting people in, you were feeling bad and everything, not being able to help everyone, which I totally get. Like, that can really tug at someone's heartstrings when, like, you want to help people, but you cannot without losing your own mind.
Like, there was just no time. Like, I couldn't.
Yeah. So you came up with some solutions, or at least some like supplemental products that might help people in the meantime. So why don't you get into that a little bit?
Yeah. So a lot of the houses that I went into, I really identified with the women. I mean, for the most part, it was moms that were calling me to set up the appointments, just saying like, I am in desperate need of like somebody to help me with the housework. And then I would go into the homes, and really they weren't doing as bad as they thought they were doing, but they were feeling like consumed by having to manage the house and having to take care of the kids and having to do all of the things, right? And so I thought to myself, like, how can I help these people on a different level without having to actually physically be there? And so I thought, okay, well, what do I do? Like, what did I do to be able to manage this? Because owning a business is no small feat. Like, there's a lot of moving parts and plates in the air all the time. But and then also like having a home and having pets and having kids and wanting a social life and not being able to ever have time for it, and wanting to take care of myself and never having time for it. And so I started doing this planning system where I manage my time by focusing on a certain energy category for the day, because I know that I'm limited in my energy that I have to give. And so when I'm able to focus on just one energy category, meaning like prioritize how I'm feeling, then I'm able to give more to that area at certain. I feel like I'm not explaining it well, but basically, when I plan out my day, I plan my day every morning, from hour by hour, and I check in to make sure to see where my energy is falling for that day, and whatever blank space I have in that daily plan, I fill in with activities that honor that energy category. So that has really helped me to feel more balanced. And yes, it doesn't mean that I'm able to get everything done every day, but because I'm able to balance out those energies, the 3 different energy categories that I sort of talk about in my programs are productivity, self-care, and connection. And so productivity obviously is getting things done. Self-care is like taking time for yourself. And the connection is like relationships and connecting with loved ones. And so when I'm able to really like hone in and focus on one of those areas and spread that out into different days of the week, then I've felt less of that overwhelm and less of that guilt that a lot of moms feel. So I think that I came up with a good system that is pretty easy to do. And so I wanted to teach other people how to do that too. And so I created an online program that teaches that. It also walks you through how to do the scheduling, but it also walks you through how to set up different systems in your life so that you can support that schedule and be able to maintain it long term. So yeah, that's one of them. And then I also just sort of took that whole concept and broke it down into and applied it specifically to housework, so that people can, if it's the housework that's overwhelming them, that can it can walk them through step-by-step processes of how to like schedule your time around getting your housework done by honoring your energy.
That's awesome. I love that. And you said that you weren't doing a very good job of explaining it, but you totally did, because I was like, yeah, this makes sense. As soon as you mentioned the energies part of it and like the different energies that you're focusing on, I was like, yes, that makes so much sense. I've been doing a lot of work myself on, just myself. And I've been working with my friend Paige Royal, and I have a couple of episodes with her. So if you want to hear some of that, then go back and listen to those. But we've done a lot of the same thing where I can sometimes find it incredibly difficult, for example, where I wake up and I'm not feeling so good, to have like meetings like first thing in the morning, right? And that would really screw up my schedule. And then I would have all of the feels about that, because I'd be like, failure for rescheduling calls and everything. And Paige was like, well, what would happen if you just didn't do those things in the morning? And so like this week and last week were like the first times that I've like done this, where like I'm not taking consultations and such in the morning. So this week I could wake up and get started immediately or take some time and, go for a walk and start my day that way. And it has just changed my perspective on everything. And I think probably everyone should go and get these systems from you because this is genius. Like, as women, our hormones change drastically several times in a month.
Yep.
And I think at this point, we have discovered that, the world is not made for women. It's made for men, especially the business world. Working 9 to 5 is not made for women, period, because periods. So I think we really need to look at different ways of doing these things and just scrap the whole 9 to 5 nonsense. So this is genius. Okay, so what are these systems called? You have the 3 things. So yes.
Yeah. So there is like the sort of introductory to the whole system would be the Balance It Digital Planner. So that is a planner that I've come up with that teaches you how to use the scheduling system. So there's a page in there where you get clear on your vision. There's a page in there and when I say vision, some people are like, that's a little too, like, I'm not like a vision board type person. Like, when I mean vision, I mean like your values and your ideals in your life. And then there's a page for goal setting if you're the type of person that's a goal getter. And again, goals, sometimes people hear the word goals and they're like, oh yeah, like, no, I don't have time for goals. But a lot of people are like not understanding the concept. Like, a goal can be like to get your house clean.
Yep.
Right? Like, it doesn't have to be this like, I'm going to learn how to play an instrument. Like, I'm going to learn with where you're at in your season. It can't be a goal for you, right? Like, I'm going to run a marathon. Like, no, you don't.
Or
have
like
to do
learn
that.
a new language. Like, exactly. For sure.
Like, if that's a goal that is aligned with where you're at in your life, cool. But that's why we always start with a vision, because you got to figure out where you are to see where you want to go.
We're taking a quick break, and while we do, I have a favor to ask you. Would you please take just a couple of moments to leave us a rating and a review in your podcast app of choice? Your feedback really goes a long way in helping us reach new people and also improve the podcast. So thanks very much, and we're back to the show.
And then there's also a page where you can go through your non-negotiables, and this was where everything changed for me in scheduling when I figured out how to decide what the things were that I needed to do every single day without exception and gave those a time period. That was so eye-opening to then look at that time period and be like, oh my God, I have time to either do stuff or like take care of myself. Like, it exists. And really I in the programs, I get really like, you got to be real honest with yourself about those non-negotiables, because some things people put on that list they don't need to be there. Anyway, that's inside the program, but I get a little sassy about that. But there's also the monthly planning page, which is just like your month in an overview. There's the weekly planning page, which I think people, they do their month and they do their week and then they stop there. But then there's also a planner for the daily design. So that is planning your day out. And I do that every single day. Sometimes I do it the night before. If I'm feeling like there's a lot going on in my brain and I need to get it out before I go to bed, I'll do it then. But most of the time I do it in the morning to plan out what I'm going to do and when. And always checking in to make sure that the energy category that I've chosen for the day matches how I'm feeling. Yeah.
So when you started doing it this way, like planning out your day, what like changed for you? Because you said that this was like life changing for you. So like what was the difference between before and after?
So I think a lot of women often feel the pressure of having to do all of the things every day and then collapsing into their bed at night because they are so exhausted and they can't take the time for themselves because they've given everything that they have to everyone else. And so when I was able to define my non-negotiables for the day and get really, really honest about what those were. And when I think of non-negotiables, I think about what do you need to do if you're like just trying to survive? Like, this is like feed your family. This is like you pick your kids up from school. Like, these are the things that you have to do that other people can't do for you, right? And sometimes they can do them for you. So if it's that's why I always say it, feed your family. Doesn't mean you got to cook it. Means you got to feed them.
Good point.
Good point. If you're not able to cook the dinner that day, then you know you're going to have to outsource that to somebody else. But yeah, those that defining all of that, and then being able to give those things a time period on a time chart to actually see where they fall. It was so like, it just, like I said, there was blank space left over. When I got really honest about what needed to be done every day, there was blank space there. And I was like, whoa, there's more time that I could be like getting together with my friends. There's more time that I could be, you know, having that bubble bath that I want to have, or reading a book, or you know, even just doing, if I'm in a productivity mood, getting the stuff done. Right. So, yeah, I think that a lot of people think that their days are full because they're trying so hard to cram it all in, and they have this massive to-do list and none of it ever gets done because they're focusing on things that don't matter. And so when you're able to like focus your time and your energy on the things that move the needle in your life, that's when things start to change and you can actually manage your time better. Yeah.
I'm gonna hopefully blow people's minds right now for a second. So this totally reminds me of what I have experienced in my life, where I mentioned I worked in an office for like a year and a half, and in the middle of the afternoon, all of a sudden I would be useless to the world for like an hour or two, maybe 3, maybe possibly the entire afternoon. And I remember I'd go home, I'd get everything ready for the next day, and then I would go to bed. And I was never getting everything done ever. And, you know, even now, like, I am known as an organized person. I hear it regularly from people. Like, I wish I was as organized as you. Okay. Here's the thing. Being organized doesn't actually make you feel better in any way, like, or make you more productive either. Like, in the last week when I have been doing this, like, giving myself the morning to like get started in like a good way that works well for me and my body. I've been literally this week working fewer hours and getting more stuff done because like you mentioned, like, focus on the important things first thing in the day. For me, that's what worked well. And then I was set up for a great productive day. And I suspect about 3 weeks from now, I probably will not be as productive, but I've been able to get so much work done this week that when that week happens, it's not going to be a problem because all the work's already done. I'll have time to rest and everything. And so what you're doing is you're not providing people with a planner, but you're literally providing them with a different way of doing things that they probably have not done before and didn't even realize was an option, wrapped up in a way that they can understand it. That's going to literally make their life so much easier.
Yeah, well, and then that's what I found. Like, a lot of the planners that I had used in the past, I was like, this is set up for somebody that doesn't have all of these moving parts in their life. Like, this is set up for, basically, it's set up for a man. And I don't like to, like,
it's true.
I don't like to put, like, gender labels on things like that, but it really is true. It's a different thing, and not even just when you have kids, but even just being a woman, there's a lot expected of you that's not expected from men. And so there's all these things out in the world that are conditioned in our brains and our bodies that we're supposed to be doing in a certain way. And I'm saying no. You don't have to do it in a certain way. I've always been somebody that like pushes those boundaries of tradition. And so when I came up with this system, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the thing that I've been missing from my own life experience, because I couldn't fall into those boundaries that society had told me that I was supposed to. And so, yeah, this has really revolutionized my planning system.
Well, thank you for doing these things and like pushing boundaries and stuff, because if we keep going the way that we're going and everything's just made for men and not people who have hormonal fluctuations, it's going to suck. And when you are telling people about like these systems and this planner that you came out with, like, have you been telling people, have you been getting anyone in your life going like, oh, okay, like just not getting it?
Yeah. I think, well, and because I have a really active Instagram account. Like that's where I spend my time, like with my community. And for the longest time, it's all been cleaning, right? So when I started like switching gears and talking about planning and organizing, people are like, what are you talking about? Like, I just want to watch clean stuff. So I think it took a little while for people to be like, oh, okay, she's like trying to help me. I think they were just thinking I was talking, and maybe that was my fault. I didn't have the copyright on what I was doing. But yeah, I think people were just like, oh, cool. Okay, she plans her day. Great. No, but I'm helping you. Like, I'm trying to tell you, like, you can do this too. And I think that that's too with like the vision and goals part. A lot of people that are overwhelmed in their life are like, I ain't got time to make a vision board. I ain't got time to set some goals. This is all I'm just managing to get through every day. And so I'm trying to say like, no, I can help you to do that. It's going to take you're going to have to work hard at it, but I can give you like a plan to go forward.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I think in our neck of the woods and part of the world, things like this and like the language that you end up using, like goal setting and goal getting and visions and visualizing and stuff like that, and energies. Yeah. Sometimes get wrapped up in this like feminized package where people just kind of look down at it and they're like, that's hokey. And,
it's too woo woo.
Like that. That's a good word for it. Woo woo. Which is too bad. So if there's any women listening to this and going like, just let that all go for a minute and just look at it. And go get the planner and do it and see what happens. Because I bet it's going to change your perspective on things. So you have the planner, and then you have a couple of other programs. So tell us about the program.
Yeah. So the planner was like the starter thing to this whole world. And then I was like, okay, maybe people need a little more support in how to do this. And so I came up with the Balance It Method program, which is basically a lifestyle program. It's taking everything that's inside the planner and walking you through step by step of how to adapt it into your own life. And then there's also sections on creating habits and routines and different systems that will support this so that it can last long term in your life. Because life changes, things fluctuate. And our biggest thing inside the Balance It Method program, this is like our motto, our schedules and systems are meant to hold us up and not weigh us down. So everything has to be flexible and has to be attainable long term. So I have that program, and then I also, that's sort of like the big program. I say big program, but it's only 7 modules. Like if you were to focus like 10 minutes a day on it, you could get through it in about a week and a half. And good. Start implementing. I mean, the scheduling stuff you can get through in a week's time and be like really quick changes, but like the habits and routines part, that'll take some time to adapt to. So you can work your way through it and start implementing that right away, but it'll probably take about a week and a half before you start to see any big changes there. And then I've taken that whole program and adapted it specifically towards housework. So a lot of people that are overwhelmed with the cleaning and housework inside their home, I've taken the entire Balance It Method program and put it into a program called How to Get Your Housework Done. So very straightforward.
Perfect title.
And I want to be clear too, it's not going to mean like that your house is going to be perfectly clean all the time. That's not the goal of that program, and your life isn't going to be perfect all the time with the Balance It Method program. Like everything fluctuates, everything changes. There are systems inside the program that can support you so that when things fall off track, you can get back into it quicker. But you have to go into it with the knowledge and the mindset that this is going to change things, and I'm going to have to keep using it to adapt to the changes as they come in my life.
Yes. So, yeah. It's not like a solving all problems kind of situation.
No.
Like, you're not going to do the program and then never have a bad day. Like, take what you are saying is like day to day, you're going to have to like adjust things for how you're feeling on any given day. Yeah. I love that. I love that. And let's talk about this whole house thing. I feel like Pinterest has done us a massive disservice when it comes to like how messy people's houses are. Like, you look at Pinterest and you think my house is supposed to be minimalist, like modern furniture, nothing on the walls, no mess anywhere. And there better not be any jam stains on my white couch or I'm going to lose my flipping mind. Like, that's not life. That's a magazine. That's not life. So yeah,
that's not life. I got really, really tired of watching people clean their mansions by just like washing a coffee cup. It just really irritated me to the point where I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. So everything on my Instagram is like real life. I'm going to show you my shitty house with all my broken cupboards and stains on the couch. And like, this is what life looks like. But I still feel like I'm managing it. Like, I don't feel overwhelmed by my home. And I think that that's a lot of people come into their house and they have this expectation of, perfection because of these things we've seen on social media. And so I think my social media alone can help people to take away that sort of stigma of perfection. And you don't need to be overwhelmed in your home. Like, there are ways that you can live in a I say normal, like it's not abnormal to have a nice home, but like you can live in an average home, I suppose is the word, and still feel like you have a sense of control within it and can still feel good to you. Yeah.
And let's be honest, like, there's plenty of people in the world who have a beautiful life without even having a home necessarily. So like,
for sure,
life can be what you want it to be. It's really about knowing what your values are and how you're going to treat yourself and what you're going to do in your day to make you feel great and the people around you feel great, more so than making sure that your walls are clean.
Exactly. It's all about mindset.
I love your Instagram, by the way. It's so funny. Like, and it is very honest, but like not like in a gross way. It's just like, oh yeah, that looks like my life. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that's my life. Like, I'm not gonna hide anything. I got nothing to hide. If you can, I don't know if you do anything with the video right now. Behind me looks kind of organized, but to the side I have a pile of boxes for donation. And then like I also use this space to store all my cleaning supplies. So my vacuums are in the other corner, and like I have a bunch of stuff over here. Like you can't see it, but it's there. Like and that's I feel like everybody else's social media is like, here's my perfectly clean kitchen, and then behind them is probably the mess, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like, I do personal branding photography, and people want their photos to make them look a certain way, so you're always going to like a location, coming to the studio, going to like an Airbnb to do photos because it's just a beautiful spot, or like in one of their clients' homes, or whatever the situation may be. And it does not show the mess of life, for sure. And those are professionally taken photos to promote a business. But like, if you're just watching your social media and taking that as like, that's what people's lives are, it's not. It's a highlight reel. And I think people need to share a little bit more of reality. So
I was thinking about that this morning because I had a branding shoot done last year at this time, and I love my photos. They're beautiful. But I went to my sister's home because she has a beautiful only adults live in her home. Let's just put it that way. And it's like they built it like it's a beautiful, beautiful home. And so I went there because I was like, oh, it's a nice backdrop for professional photos. And then today I was like, I really should get new ones done that are like just me in my home. Cause like this is more my brand. It's not me in those fancy, nice, clean kitchen. It's me in my messy pile of dishes kitchen.
That would actually be a pretty funny shoot, just to have stacks of dishes behind you. Just
and that's real, and that's so much more me than
just like rubber gloves. Just
oh, forget the gloves, girlfriend. I don't wear gloves. I just posted a video, a reel of me cleaning my toilet, and I have no gloves on. And I know people are going to be like, "You should wear gloves," because I get it all the time on Instagram. And I'm like, do you know how long it takes to put a glove on? Like, my time's limited when I'm working in somebody's home and in my own home, so I'm not stopping to put no gloves on. I'll wash my hands after.
I don't think I've ever worn a rubber glove in my life.
I don't own them. I see some people with them like draped, like they have them at their kitchen sink. I'm like, are you putting these on to wash your dishes? Like, how do you feel if they're clean? Like, I don't get that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, I guess if I invested a lot in like nice nails and stuff, maybe that would be it.
Maybe.
Yeah. But that's, it's not my season.
Not your non-negotiable. I do not give a flying F about my nails.
Same.
So like every single one of them looks different.
Same. And when I wear nail polish, I wear it right down to like, it's like at the quick, like
until it's gone on its own.
I don't ever take it off. It just wears off.
That's brilliant. Oh man. Okay. This is awesome. Okay. So how do we help people with this whole idea that their house has to be perfect all the time? Like, so for me, I hear from my clients so much, we don't have any wall space. And then like, I'll be in their home and I'll be like, you have plenty of wall space to put photos of your family. And I see it with photos too. Like families want to show up in like their perfect outfits and they want to look a particular way and they want their kids to behave. And that's just not how life works.
I don't know if you know this,
probably throw a tantrum at your session, but that's cool. That's good. That's a good thing.
I don't know if you know this, but I was a photographer for a long time as well.
Yes, and I heard that.
I worked in a studio for quite a while. That was an interesting experience when people are bringing their kids in for post photos and the kids are just after school, like that crazy time.
Yeah.
And the parents are so mean. I remember specifically a Christmas photo shoot where they were trying to get their Christmas cards ready, right? Like, so pictures of their kids for Christmas. And both kids were just like screaming. And finally, like, they were both just sitting in the poses that I put them in and crying, just crying. And the mom was like, just take the picture. Just take the picture. So we did. And I told them there was no Santa on as like the caption on the Christmas card.
Oh yeah, that'd be cute.
Yeah, that's how you do life right there.
Yeah, that's reality. And also, I betcha a picture of two screaming kids like on a Christmas card. I bet you every single person who opened that up laughed hysterically.
Yeah, exactly. Let's make light of the horrible situation.
And like in your house, like you have kids or you have pets. Like, I don't know how many pets you have in your house, but there is friggin' hair everywhere at my place, just everywhere. And it just doesn't bother me. I'm like, it'll get cleaned up when it gets cleaned up. So like, what are like ways that we can help people with these things? What are your suggestions with like cleaning the house? Because like that is a thing that stresses people out to no end. But like we have teenagers and 20-year-olds who have kept pizza boxes under their bed for like 5 years and they're still alive. So like, how do we help people with this?
So again, it goes back to like managing your time, right? Like you need to know what your non-negotiables are and where your energy is at. And if you're focusing just on the housework, you take your productivity days and you make that about the housework. Now I know that there's always things outside of the home that need to be done as well. And that's when I recommend that people take like an admin day, like a life admin day, so they can schedule that into their calendar like once a month where they do all of their outside of the house tasks as much as they can to schedule that on one single day. that helps. Like you have all your appointments on one day type thing. It doesn't always work out to be one day, but if you can get away with a one life admin day in your month, then it's really helpful. And then all your other productivity days can be focused inside the home. Now, there's also the option of trying to like train your mindset to look at housework as self-care, right? Ooh. So I like to, instead of making a to-do list inside of our program, we make a priority funnel. And so it's essentially a to-do list, but it is the most important task goes to the top of the funnel and the least important goes to the bottom. So I like to keep it with like about 5 tasks a week just to make sure that my energy is balanced. I have a master to-do list that I sort of pull things off from into the priority funnel. And so if your priority energy for the day is self-care, after your non-negotiables are taken care of, you can look again at that priority funnel and say like, okay, does one of these tasks need to get done in order for me to have self-care time, in order for me to be able to complete one of my non-negotiable tasks? And that will help you to create a doable to-do list that you'll be able to accomplish the most important things before anything else. And then that will allow you the space and the time to have that self-care or that connection time. So for example, to make it a little clearer, like, okay, so let's say I've chosen today as a connection day. So I want to connect with my kiddo. So that's going to be my priority focus for the day. So my non-negotiables are scheduled out. Now I'm looking at the other list of things that need to get done, which are usually housework items. Is there anything on that list that has a deadline? Is there anything on that list that needs to get done before a certain time? If so, it's going to go to the top of that priority funnel for the day. If there is anything on that list that needs to get done in order to complete one of the non-negotiables. So if my thing is connection and we're planning, my connection activity for the day is going to be, I don't know, like going outside to play in the snow. Do I need to have, I'll need to have the snow gear ready in order to do that. So is something in the washing machine that needs to go into the dryer? That can go on your priority funnel to get done that day. So yeah, it's really just like looking at your to-do list and trying to kind of shift the purpose of those things on that list and try to fit them into the energy category you've chosen. And I also don't want people to overload their to-do list. And that's why I recommend to have a master to-do list and then a priority funnel for either the week or the day. I often have a daily priority funnel, especially on my productivity days, because that helps me to be able to get the most important things done on those days. But if it's one of those weeks where I'm not feeling as productive, then I will just make one for the week and just, batch them out for whatever day. But yeah, that's a much easier way to manage the tasks in your home, is to not look at that giant to-do list and try and get it all done on your productivity day. No, you have to take the most important things out and assign them a time.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Oh yeah. And I assume that like in the planner and in your programs, there's a lot probably around not overloading yourself. So getting really specific on like what your priorities are for that moment, and not just being like, everything on my master list has a deadline of Friday.
Okay, today is my day. I'm going to clean the entire house. And then you get up and your kid's sick and like, you've been up all night, and like it's not going to happen, right? So you got to really learn to prioritize. If your energy is in that productivity space, it's much easier to create that to-do list. But you can't control the energies of everybody else in the house. So if like I said, if I wake up, my kid's sick, That's not going to be a super productive day. So what are the tasks that I can get done that will make the biggest difference in that time? And so, yeah, I think that is a great starting point for people trying to manage their housework, is to look at it that way instead of making this giant list and never getting and feeling like anything's crossed off of it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. What about forgotten tasks? Like you're going about your week and you're like, shit, I forgot that I have to like call the vet, you know? Like, do we just put that into the master list? Like, where do we put those things?
So I have in the planner, there is, in the weekly section, there is a spot for reminders that need to be remembered that don't specifically have a time period or a schedule yet. So those are like things like make an appointment would go onto that list. So I like to do that. I'm a little bit of an over planner, so I plan my like whole year out at the beginning of the year. Yeah. And so I know like, okay, I have to make an oil change appointment like in a couple weeks from now. That's on my planner. So like, I know that's coming up, or like, it's going to be dentist time soon. Like I need to make an appointment for that. Like, so that goes in that section. And then you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, I need to make that appointment to fit it into my calendar somewhere.
Hi, I'm Becky Waples, the host of the Small Towns Big Dreams podcast. The podcast that celebrates small town creators and shares their stories. From their background to where they found their courage, from their challenges to their wins, from where they found their inspiration to how they took their first step. Join us each week to hear how each guest turned their big dreams into reality. If you are a creator, an entrepreneur, or love someone who is, subscribe now to the Small Towns Big Dreams podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and let's grow together.
This is all awesome. And just because I'm a giant nerd, is there like any apps or anything that you use or you recommend to people to use for like just their to-do lists and organizing these, just to brain dump? Because if you're out and you've forgotten stuff and you need to put this stuff somewhere, do you have any recommendations for that stuff?
I just use the app on my phone, like the Notes app or the Reminders app. Yeah, I think the Notes app is really great. The way that you can make like a checklist on there and check it off, but it doesn't like go away forever. So like if you have like that's what I've been doing with groceries lately, which I absolutely love. So making a grocery list on there of the staple items and then adding anything to it that I like for a recipe I want to try or something. And then I can also share that with Mr. Clean It. So if he's like, hey, I'm going to the grocery store in 5 minutes, what do we need? I don't have to like, what's in my pantry? Nothing bothers me more than that is when he asks last minute that what do we need at the grocery store? Like, I don't have a running list in my head. I can't do that. So it's on my phone. So I just share that with him. I'm going to let my child in here. Bang.
I love that because I also use the Notes app for my grocery lists, and it is brilliant because it just stays there. So just like the things that you need, put them in there, check them off when you have them, uncheck them when you run out.
And I love that I can share it. Like that's the biggest thing for me.
Now, does your husband know that you refer to him as Mr. Clean It?
I don't know. I don't think he follows me on social, so probably not.
I love that. That's awesome.
He's probably just grateful that I don't use his name or put him in any videos. So I don't think he'll care, but
I love that. That sounds fantastic. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. What else do you think that people should know when it comes to like organizing and cleaning and all that fun stuff? Just the stressed mom who's like, this is bullshit. What would you tell her?
I would tell her that it is possible to not feel like that. It's just a decision that you have to make, and you have to be willing to put in the work to make the change. It's also not going to happen overnight. It's not a one shot fix all type thing. It's sort of, it's a life management. So like I call it balance it, but balance isn't a state of being. Balance is a state of doing, right? Like think about somebody walking on a tightrope. Like you look at them and they're walking across and it seems so easy, but they're working, like their whole body and mind they're focused on what they're doing to maintain that balance, to stay on that wire. Right. So, and it wasn't always that way when they first started. I'm sure they fell off a lot. Right. Yeah. So creating that balance, it takes work and it takes time. But it's possible to do it. And, I think a lot of people they know that they need something, they know that they need habits and routines and things to help them, but they don't know where to start with that because everything feels so overwhelming. And I think a lot of people go into it like, okay, I'm going to start this routine that I saw somebody do on Pinterest and it's going to change everything. And they go all in for like 2 weeks and then it goes back to normal, right? Because it's not theirs. It's not something that they adapted to their own life. And they're trying to do it all at once. You got to start small. You have to start small. If you start with the whole routine or the whole big, like ideal end product, it's not going to be manageable. It's not going to work. And then you're going to feel disappointed. And you're going to feel guilty that you didn't do it. And you're just going to stop it all together and you like write it off. So you got to start small. You got to start with one thing, one area and one little change, and then build upon it. So that's what I teach inside the Balance It Method program.
I love it. This is awesome. Okay, excellent. Okay. Thank you so much for doing this podcast. This is great.
Oh, no. Thank you for having me. I'm just so excited to talk to other people. I've been so lazy with my podcast lately. I feel horrible about it. I'm trying, I'm going to try not to feel horrible about it. Like I've still been putting it out there, but like I was really consistent. Like every Tuesday an episode went up and then like January came and I was like, I'm just going to take a nap.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to lay down for a while. But I still have been putting episodes out. It's just not been very consistent. And I do have a bunch of things on my board back there that I want to do with it. So it's coming. I feel like February has a different energy than January did. For me anyway. Yeah. So I'm just doing a do-over. My year starts in February. So yeah.
I think there's a lot of people on the same page as you right now, because it certainly from what I've observed, people seem to have been like, January, I'm hibernating and that's it. I'm taking a break. Yeah. It seems like this year, Christmas, like people were just ready to just have a break.
Yeah. So. And I did Christmas different this year too, because last year I was like strung out at Christmas. I was like, I got to make this magic happen. Like this year I was like, there's a bit of magic, but like, I think it was magical enough. And like, I really took a big step back from that, like expectation of myself, but I still did hit that like wall in January of like, I need to lay down.
Good. Taking a break is important.
Yeah.
Self-care. What is your ridiculously happy moment?
My ridiculously happy moment. I was trying to think of something. So I went away on a girls' weekend back in October. And it was the first time I'd been away.
Oh, wow.
For a really long time. Like away, like an overnight type thing. And it was just one night and we sort of just had like a little girl's sleepover. Like we did silly things. We watched silly movies. We played light as a feather, stiff as a board. Like we just felt like we were kids again. Like it was so fun. And I think that has been one of the happiest, ridiculously happiest things that I've done in a long time. And to that, I want to, in this year, it's one of my goals for the year, is to host a retreat for women that need to get away, and have workshops with other people that will help with finding that joy and finding that fun and reconnecting with friends. So that's something that I'm working on. I've put some things out in the universe that are hopefully going to come back.
I love that, because I have been thinking about this recently, that like we need to get more, back to like how we were when we were kids, like playing. And you naturally do the things that you need to do when you're a kid, right? Like you go play, you talk to your friends, you cry, you scream, you take a nap, like you do what you need to do for your body and your feelings. And we kind of lose that. We start stuffing all of our feelings down and we're like, no, I am an adult and I am serious. And then we stop playing. We stop taking breaks. We stop giggling about.
This is for kids.
I know. Yeah. We stop giggling about farts and like.
Yeah, that's never gonna get old.
I have not stopped giggling about farts. Like my partner makes some incredible fart sounds, and he'll be on the other side of the house, and he'll just let one rip, and I'll be like giggling, laughing out loud on the other side of the house.
I was in art school for a while and we had to do a new drawing one day. And I was not mature enough to be in the room. So the woman was bent over in front of me and I might have made a fart noise. It was frowned upon by every adult in the room, but I thought it was funny. She didn't like it either.
Oh, that's too bad. That's funny. I probably would have giggled. That's fantastic. Well, my ridiculously happy moment is just that in a little bit, I'm going to be going to Starbucks and I'm going to be doing all my social media scheduling while drinking my enormous tea and probably eating delicious food. And I'm excited.
Do you do that sitting in Starbucks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to like get out sometimes and just be around other human beings while maybe not talking to them. So I'll often like take my laptop to like a cafe or something and do all my social media scheduling and with my headphones on.
I haven't done that in so long. When I lived in London, I used to go and like sit at Tim Hortons and just people watch for a while.
Oh,
like I never had any like activity to do. I just would watch people.
I know. It might be what I do. It's possible that I waste half of the time that I'm there people watching.
It's entertaining.
People watching is a thing. It should be a self-care act, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Get your nails done. Yeah, true. How can people find you? And where?
You can find me you can find me on Instagram. Like I said, I'm super active there. I answer everybody's messages late into the evening because I can't not do that. And you can find me there. You can head over to the Clean It website if you're interested in getting on the wait list there. It's what is the cleanitclub.ca. That's perfect. I've had to send anybody there. Cleanitclub.ca. And I have the Balance It planner linked up to there. Mm-hmm. And then if you want any information on the programs, the best place to go right now is to find me on Instagram and send me a message. I can shoot you the links to those pages. I don't have an actual web page for Balance It as of yet, but that's the best place to find me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Tamara. This has been awesome.
This was fun. Thank you so much.
And I'm Sophia Lemon. I photograph ridiculously happy people, and you can also find me on Instagram at ridiculously happy people, and that's spelled PPL because PEOPLE is too long, so ridiculously happy PPL. And you can also find me on Facebook and Pinterest, and that's sophialemon.com. And if you want to share your ridiculously happy moment, you can go to happyp.pl/record, and you can record it to have it played on the show, or you can watch for the social media prompts, and we will read them. And thanks for sharing, subscribing, rating, and reviewing the podcast. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.